Good morning. This is Christy from the Be the Light YouTube channel, and I want to say thank you for stopping by, and I send you love today and always. My voice is a little shaky. I don't know if you heard it there, but I had a good night yesterday. Last night was the night of the super moon here in the East Coast, and as I was laying down to go to sleep, I closed my eyes and was connected immediately with God, and He showed me a piece of where I'm at in my journey and what is taking place. I am really grateful that I have this gift of connecting. And I'm really grateful that I can do it without forcing it. In the beginning of my journey, I really had to create, stillness. And then I didn't know what was taking place anyway. I was creating stillness with the thought in mind that I was just going to relieve all of my burdens and my stress, my anxieties, my fears. I was creating stillness to empty my mind and release the pain in my heart. I didn't expect to ever begin seeing anything, let alone hearing things, and receiving anything from God. That was not something that I expected, and I have mentioned this in many, many videos that I became terrified of this. I have always had something, a gift. I knew that. I knew I had the sense that I always knew people before they could tell me anything that was wrong with them. I could tell you there was something wrong with you. But myself, I was completely broken, and I couldn't do anything with that understanding that I had. I knew deep in my heart, ever since I was a little girl, that I would have a great purpose. But I had doubts in my mind because I knew I was shy. I felt limited. I was so afraid. When I was a little girl, I remember now, because of where I'm at after my awakening process, I remember seeing the sparkles. I remember feeling a presence around me all the time. And because I didn't understand any of that, I took it in and created fear in my life. There are lots of people who have the gifts that I have, who have never lost it. All humans have this capability of connecting with God, because we are always supposed to be connected. But life takes hold. People in our lives will tell us it's wrong. The churches, everything, the media will tell you that what you are experiencing is not normal. As I began my awareness into my awakening process and really stepping into what my heart was telling me instead of what my mind and my fear was feeding me, I began seeing a shift in everything that I began to focus on. I saw that and read more about what I was going through. I realized that there are a lot of people, in the science community, medical community, spiritualists, whatever they are, for at least 20 years now, maybe more, who have been trying to get this idea of of consciousness, spirituality, of being connected with our divine God. And that is where my heart was leading me. And where the true aspects of what the Bible really means was leading me. So I received a little bit more of a part of my journey yesterday, and then again this morning. God is always guiding our steps. Whether or not you realize it or not in your life, He is guiding you. And if things aren't working out in your life, that is still a guide. He is showing you by everything in your reality, which is your world. Everything that's taking place around you is a sign from God telling you you're not listening to me, or you are listening to me. That is His way of connecting with people when they are not connected internally by using an outside source. When you finally merge, or at least open up to the idea that God is inside of you, and open up to actually that gift of sight, inner sight, and inner knowing and inner receiving, you no longer need the outside world to tell you that you are going in the right direction or not. You know all the time by your state of being. Just by knowing you are guided continuously by the love in your heart. But people who open up to this type of vision, I'm certain they feel extremely blessed. I know I do. Especially in the very beginning. You know, it's terrifying to be able to see beyond your senses because of what society says about it. But it was beautiful as well, because I felt complete and whole, and I did feel loved. There is a huge process that takes place. None of this can be rushed, and it is all handed to you in the time that is correct for yourself. You know, I have been going through a lot of growing, transforming, and rebirth. Most of mine has been occurring at nighttime, and I lose tons of sleep. And as I have mentioned in several videos, I appreciate that though. I appreciate it because it wakes me up. It causes me to really remember. I can focus now more on what's taking place and on that loving message. If it were to take place, and it still does take place throughout the day, I'm not saying it doesn't. A lot of it still does. But I think the more deeper, most important parts of my journey is taken at night. You know, because we go throughout our days just being busy with life. We have a life that we're supposed to live. That is our purpose here as well, to have that human existence. And we can get caught up in conversations, and when God is giving you his love and his nurturing and his transformation during a conversation with another human being, you kind of turn off this sense of what's taking place, or you don't allow it to truly bloom because your mind is trying to be preoccupied with another individual or with your job, with your responsibilities. So yeah, I am really grateful that a lot of it takes place at night. So I have mentioned the chakra system, and I think it all begins with opening your heart. Your heart chakra has to be opened for any of it to begin. And it takes wanting something different and believing in all things. Believing in something that you've never had, never ever thought you would experience, and quite possibly would never ever see. When you implement the faith and the belief system of limitless, you open up to a love that you have never thought possible. That is the beginning and opening of one doorway, a gateway, a portal within, whatever you want to call it. It begins the new transformation to your higher self. And then there's a process of opening every other chakra. And it will take you however long is necessary, based upon how much time you put into it, how much healing you have to do, and how much you are willing to learn. It's been 1.5 years for myself, and I think it's gone by so quickly. I look back and I'm like, I was just right here. But look what I have now. My old self would have been, this has taken me way too long. When I lived negatively, I would have been like, wow, this has not been worth it. It's taking too long. But because I have already had a glimpse of my higher self, a glimpse of my purpose, a glimpse of what God is, I know it's only been a short period. And I'm saying a glimpse right now because I am not truly living in my purpose yet. I am not truly living in all that God is yet. I am not truly living in all of my higher self yet. I have had huge success. I have seen tons of growth and transformation. So much. I am at least, I could say 10 times my higher self than what I was before. But there's more and more and more that we could always attain. How much further are you willing to go to find out how much further you can attain, how much more you can be, how much more you can receive, how much more you can know, how much more connected can you get to God? I want to go all the way, which makes it a more difficult road. It doesn't make it impossible. No, because there's so many people who are doing it. It's just making that choice to dive all in. So I won't actually go through everything that I saw last night with what God is talking to me about. I will probably make a video in general about a chakra system that is necessary to open. Well, they're all necessary, but so I will do that. But I will share with you something that God showed me this morning, upon waking up. Well, I was awoke, but Anyhow, I don't need you to understand how I receive things. I saw a man who was finely dressed. He looked as if he still had money, but no baggage, no luggage, nothing else, just him and his nice groomed clothing in a long leather coat. And he was walking in the desert. So please bear with me. I am still absorbing God's love. So if you read the Bible or not, the desert is a huge part of God's message. It is his way of separating and giving. When we walk through a desert, we know it's going to be treacherous. We never know if we'll ever see another human being receive shade, or if there will ever be water that's available. We will begin to believe that as if we are going to starve and die. It takes our faith to truly make it out of the desert. So that's basically the symbolism of a desert anyway. It's in our desert times here on earth. Can you implement your faith into your life? Can you remember God's promise when you are going through the hard times? Or are you always thinking of how dry, separated, lonely, hungry, thirsty that you are during your hardship, instead of focusing on God's love and his message? The desert isn't just about the hardship of it all. It has a lot to do with spiritual renewal. The desert is associated with clarity, revelation, and purity, because it is such a difficult, threatening terrain type. It represents the barriers, obstacles, and challenges. The desert is your testing ground. This is where you can experience change of heart, where you can prove to yourself obedience. This is where many chosen ones find God. And I'm talking about a deeper connection where he's truly speaking to you. Your dry season is a season that's taking place for a purpose, to see how much further you're going to go, to become connected to all that is, to receive the blessing that's at the end. The desert also is, and when I'm speaking of desert, it's also a desert in context to your life, your dry season. It's where we can't really rely on our emotions. Because in our dry season, we're thinking about our thirst. We're thinking about what we don't have. And our mind is playing a trick on us. This is the most important time when we are supposed to fully embrace our faith, despite what our emotions are telling us. And that's why I have always emphasized the importance of seeing from love. Love is light. Love is truth. It is the only thing that's going to give you clarity. And if you're making choices based upon your pain, you can't see clear. And when Jesus was roaming in the desert and he was tempted by Satan, he was being led by his heart. He was living the law within himself. That's what it means to walk within the Spirit. You have to take what you know to be true, which you have to implement into your life. You have to continuously think and feel on the truth of what God is telling you, which is love only, because everything else is false. And that is what it means to walk. Walk the walk within the Spirit. To walk in faith and walk in love. God is the example of faith, the symbolism of faith, and Jesus is the symbolism of love. You put the two together, and life becomes exactly or better than you ever expected. So, in your dry season, you have a daily choice, a moment-to-moment choice at what you want to experience. And every time you can change that negative thought and emotion to the positive one, you receive the blessing that is taking place within your dry season. And I have realized, because of my own path, your dry season can take as long as necessary, all of your life, until you understand and learn that everything around you is taking place because of what's inside of you. My dry season is I haven't really seen this part of my path as being dry. this has been the greatest part of my life. It's been very difficult. And I think others would compare it to a drought, the desert. But I have loved it. More than anything in my life. God says I have been walking in the desert. I have been persistent and continuing on. I have seen the greatness instead of the bad. See, that's what I didn't realize here until he told me today that I have been walking in the desert. Yes, my past was definitely the desert. Definitely. I can definitely compare it to that years ago. Being alone. That was the bad part of being in a desert. You're alone. You're thirsty for something. You're hungry for something. You're looking for something, and you never find it. But then you get to a point, because you have faith, and you have love, and you have this guidance, where you are always connected. You're always nourished. And your thirst has been quenched. And then you don't ever stop, no matter how long you have to be in that desert. You always see what is waiting for you ahead. The promise. And you know you're never alone. You never have been. This is Christy. Much love, health, and healing your way. I am bringing purpose to your life. Take care.